Hello, everybody, and welcome to the InPower Coffee Break. We do this little meeting every Tuesday from 1 to 1:30 and talk about topics in leadership, in women in leadership, in what makes a healthy company, a healthy culture to help employees survive and thrive while they're supporting the business mission. We have a variety of guests on here. Today we're talking with Colleen Denston, who has a very rich background in all of those topics. And she's going to be talking with us today about networking primarily, and then we'll go off into other topics of interest and what it's like to be a woman leader in the technology area in a STEM field. So in a minute, I'm going to let Mary introduce Colleen, but I just wanted to remind you all that you can see our upcoming guests and get all the participation information for how to participate in these weekly events at coffeebreak.InPowerCoaching.com. And these are available in webinar format, so we recommend you come in and ask questions and talk to our guests and participate and get some value out of it in a live forum anytime you can. So thank you all for joining, and thank you, Colleen, for joining us today. Mary, why don't you introduce Colleen to us?
Sure. So Colleen Parker Denston has a background of 20 plus years in the fields of management, finance, and human resources. She graduated summa cum laude from Walden University with a major in human resources and minor in information processing. In 2014, she joined Kronos Inc. as a workforce consultant. But before joining Kronos, she was director of human resources for 5 years at a local private school. And before this, the VP of operations for 16 years at a regional appraising firm. She volunteers her time as the 2015-2016 director for the Maryland State Council of the Society for Human Resource Management, or SHRM, and previously held the position of deputy director and director of government affairs for the same organization from 2010 to 2014. Her resume includes leadership in Eastern Shore SHRM since 2006 and the Employment Relations Committee for the Maryland Chamber of Commerce since 2010. As a representative from Maryland SHRM, she has appeared before the U.S. House Financial Services Subcommittee, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Maryland House Economic Matters Committee, and the Maryland Senate Finance Committee in Annapolis, and on C-SPAN's Washington Journal to participate in a roundtable discussion regarding financial institutions and consumer credit. So welcome, Colleen.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Colleen, there are so many things that I want to ask you about that Mary just read. But I wanted to start a little bit with how you got to your current position with Kronos, because I know you're excited about it and you're writing a blog that's going to appear for us next week on Monday. That's fascinating in terms of sort of the kismet of how networking can bring us our dream job. And tell me a little bit about, Kronos and why you love it so much. What is it about the culture and the organization that you love now that you have this job? And then we'll talk about how you got it.
Okay. So it's really funny. I love Kronos. It's a great company. The culture is unbelievable. So a lot of the employees at Kronos are remote. But we still have a sense of unity. So we have a team. We have, team meetings. My direct boss is unbelievably understanding. She understands how hard we work. So if we need some time, we take some time. And our leader, Aaron Ng, he is actually one of the founding members. So he and his brother actually founded Kronos. And so they're still involved, and they're so employee centric, between their benefits and everything they provide. They make sure that if the employees are happy, their customers are going to be happy. And that's basically the motto of Kronos.
Really? I mean, and you've been in human resources for a long time, so you know what it's like not to be in a company like that, right?
I do, unfortunately. So there are some companies out there that do struggle, whether it's because of financial reasons that they can't provide such benefits. But, when you find a company who really is employee-centric, that is so important because, they make you feel like you matter. Everything that you do, you're contributing to the business. You're not just going to a company and just, punching a time clock. You're actually making a difference for a company, which is what I really enjoy. So
now I have another question in front of the how did you get this job question. it's just kind of like you said something really important. They feel like they make you matter,
Mm-hmm.
and they're employee centric. So what does that look like from the perspective of a potential employee? So you're looking for a job. How can you tell this company is employee centric and this one isn't? And then secondly, how does it look from the standpoint of a leader? How do you make people feel like they matter?
So from an employee side of it, so we have a team of about 6 individuals. And each of us have our strengths. You know, one of my associates, he is technical. He's got all the technical background, technical degrees. I have another one who owned a scheduling company. We each have our own unique skills. Myself, I have HR payroll background, so I understand the laws as they are applied to organizations. I understand what employers are going through. So when I go out to a company, not only is it just the acronyms behind my name as well as, you know, my knowledge, it's the fact that I really can relate to where they've been because I have been there. So there really is a connection to what they're doing, to what my passion is. My passion is I want to help them. It's not, my passion is not, I'm going to just go in and sell you software. My passion is I want to help you get to a solution that can really work for you.
So that's kind of the customer view. I think we talk in business a lot about customer relations. I feel like we talk less about employee relations.
I would agree.
And let's go to the leader. I still want to come back to the looking for a job. How can I tell you're employee centric? But as a leader, it's, you know, responsible for a team. I've got all these deliverables. I've got all these deadlines. I've got all this pressure, you know, and my people, it's easy to see them as cogs in my wheel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I just have to make you all productive to do things. So how do you do all that and make the employees themselves feel like they matter? Again, you know, the customers, it's easy for us to make them matter because we all have this mantra, customers matter. But a lot of us don't come with this program in our head that says, but employees matter too.
Absolutely. So basically, I think it comes down to respect and trust. And respect and trust has to be earned. Absolutely earned. It's not something you're given just because you have a title behind your name. And I do believe that when the trust is there, the respect is there, you don't have to worry about whether your employees are going to follow through with their jobs because they want to work harder for the organization. So, you know, when I have a project, you know, it's specifically usually geared to HR payroll, which I have a passion for. In my regards with my boss, she knows I have a passion for it. So when anything comes up like that, she'll reach out to me and she knows that I really enjoy doing that. Just recently went to California and did a seminar on, you know, FLSA for Kronos, just because they know that that is a passion of mine. So it's really finding the passion for each employee and really enhancing that and engaging that throughout the workday.
That's really, that sounds so simple, right? So I'm a leader. If I just know what my people enjoy doing and do my best to find ways to allow them to do it, they feel like someone heard what they cared about and made the effort to, you know, connect them to things where they would enjoy their work. That seems so simple. It's sort of surprising we don't experience that more in the workplace, I guess.
Yeah, you know, and being a leader, you know, it's very hard. It's hard to keep some people engaged because so many people have different triggers. Some people are triggered by money. Some people are triggered by praise. Others can be triggered by how much free time they have during the day. So you have to find really what works for every single person. And there's so many different personalities out there. You know, first you really have to get to know your team. And I think what Kronos does, and it's a very lengthy interview process that I went through, but now I understand why. So going through that interview process was probably about 4 excruciating months with about 6 different interviews between phone interviews, a webinar online, as well as an in-person interview. They wanted to find the right person who was going to go with the culture. Not just somebody who could do the job, but somebody for the culture. And I think that's important.
I do too. So now let's put on I was looking for a job hat, you know, the job seeker hat. So here you are going through 4 months of interviews. You obviously like the company. But, you know, what was it that told you because some people will put you through 4 months of interviews and then say thanks but no thanks and make you feel like, why did I waste all that time? So, what was it that told you in that process that they were employee centric and that helped you understand what the culture was? And I'm thinking here about people who will be watching this video who are in the job seeking process or, in the interviewing process, and are like, what questions do I ask? What do I look for? How would I know that this company cares about its employees?
So I can just give you a few examples. So Glassdoor, I always go on, Google, look up Glassdoor on any company. The reviews are raving. They have been named top employer in the city of Boston for many, many years, including this year. The CEO, Aaron Ng, he has been named one of the top CEOs by Glassdoor. So all of these things. I also have, the friend of the friend who is actually a friend of mine. She is the one who started telling me about Kronos and just providing me a little bit of insight that I wouldn't have had I had kind of blindly just applied to Kronos.
So research the company, leverage your network.
Yes, network
scoop.
Yes, that's what it entails, all that network scoop. And then, going out to LinkedIn, and then I started kind of researching the employees who work there would do a similar position. And I started to look at some of the articles they were posting and so forth to just kind of see what Kronos was about. Mm-hmm. So just research.
Right. Research. And sometimes it's amazing that we don't think to do that. And with LinkedIn now, you really can, you almost always find some connection, within the company.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about how you got this job, because it's such a great story and you're going to blog about it next week. But I want to hear the story again, because to me, I read it and I'm like, yeah, Kismet. It's like, we all want to go to networking and like have an immediate sort of a transactional response. Like I go to a network, I walk away with a business card that turns into a new job or business for me. And it never really works like that. But it works more like the way your network worked.
Yes, it's such a strange and exciting experience. So, I do the same thing. I go to all of these meetings for my professional organization, hand out business cards, talk to people, and you think that, that's the extent of networking. Well, it really is not, and this is really what proved it to me. So, of course, the gal that I work with now, as well as a girlfriend of mine, were meeting in Boston for dinner. They had been on Facebook, seen each other. We're going to be in Boston. They were like, let's get together, not eat alone again. So what they did is they met for dinner, after, just some chit chat. They sat there and they were like, oh, well, tell me about your job. I really don't know what you do. Of course, that's, what you do. So she started telling her about it. Well, meanwhile, the entire time, and this is funny the way my friend tells it, she goes, I'm sitting here going, Colleen would like that. Oh, she would like that too. She would be really good at this. So this is really funny about how she is like actually sitting there the entire time going, I've just got the person for you, after she gets done telling her about the job. So she tells her a little bit about me and sets up a meeting for us via Facebook. She goes, I just want to introduce you, meet on Sunday for coffee. And the really ironic thing is that the gal who I work with now, we actually knew each other. We knew each other from social, social networking, just by, working out, running, swimming. So we had seen each other, we knew each other's name, but we didn't put two and two together because we didn't know each other's last name. So we walk in and we start laughing because we know each other, but we didn't really know each other.
Right.
So we start talking and, she shares with me all about what she does. She shows me some few things that she does on the computer, what's important. She allowed me to shadow her on a couple of calls just so I kind of understood exactly what I was getting into. And so it really went from there. She said she wasn't sure if there was any positions, but she would put my application in because she thought I'd be a good fit. And that's kind of where it went from there. The next, I think 2 days later, I had a call from what is now my boss, and it just kind of went from there. I, had to work through presentations and so forth. It was just really an eye-opening experience that because of one dinner that my friends had, I ended up with what I consider my absolute dream job.
And it gives you faith in the universe, you know.
It does. That is absolutely true. It does, because, you know, as many times as I tell the story, I get so excited because there are so many people out there looking for the right job. And they do what we all do. We go to LinkedIn, we go to Career Builder, we go to all these different websites looking for our perfect job. Where when our perfect job could actually be an associate we have on LinkedIn or on any other social media channel.
Well, and there's a lot of people I find, you know, in supporting them as a career coach, and there's a lot of people I find they don't believe their perfect job is out there. They don't believe that they could get their perfect job. You know, they have all these kind of negative voices in their head preventing them from putting themselves out there. And so the passive effort of going to look, you know, doing a database search feels really safe, but your perfect job is out there. And it's not like you can't find, even if you don't get exactly right, you know, tenure at jobs these days isn't 20 years anymore. You know, it's job to job to job, and you can get to your perfect job pretty quickly if you put yourself out there and you tell people what you're looking for. I mean, I guess your friend knew you were sort of in the market, right?
She did. And, you know, and I think what comes down to it is something you just said. It's not easy. It's not easy going through the interviews. It's not comfortable. And I think that was the hardest thing that I had to get used to, is going through this interview process. It was not comfortable. It's something that's outside of your box, and you have to be willing to take that step. You have to be willing to take that first leap that goes, you know what, I can do this. And the one thing that I watched over and over again is Amy Cuddy of TED Talks.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So the Wonder Woman pose.
Yep.
I did that. Every single time before a meeting or one of the calls with one of the interviewers. I did that pose every single time. And I just, you know, she got me through it.
That's awesome.
I swear to that.
And for anyone who's watching or listening and doesn't know what we're talking about, the Wonder Woman pose, Amy Cuddy is a researcher who discovered that when you take certain poses, particularly putting your hands on your hips, the Wonder Woman pose, it actually increases your level of testosterone, which increases your level of confidence.
It does. And it works.
I know.
Absolutely. 100% works to a T. But, you know, I mean, all throughout my career, I've continuously been trying to grow myself. So, you know, even when I started volunteering for SHRM in government affairs, I could not speak in front of a single person. I mean, I really struggled just doing public speaking. And I had a mentor, which is always great to have. I always suggest everyone find a mentor. And she was so fantastic. And she, you know, she's an attorney. She's been speaking in front of these legislators forever. And she was like, you know what, just go out there. And, you know, she gave me some pointers. And I went up there, and I think I shook the entire time. But you know what? I didn't die. I got through it. Nobody threw anything at me. And I realized, you know what? It's really not that bad. So practice makes perfect. You just continuously just set the bar a little higher each time, and you just try to accomplish it.
So I'm really curious. So you pushed yourself in that context, into a public speaking context, to literally go present to committees of Congress.
Yes.
Pretty awesome. What did you find? So after you put yourself out there and you realized I didn't die, you know, the worst didn't happen. I don't know what did you think the worst would be.
I don't know. I don't want to know.
So, but then so what was the next step? Because sometimes we're like, okay, we put ourselves out there once. Okay, phew, I'm done with that. But it's a journey, right? It's an ongoing effort. So like after you realized you could do that, what else did that make you capable of doing?
So it gave me the confidence in myself to come find this job. I would have never even contemplated looking at this job that I have today had it not been for those speaking skills, because part of my job is going out and speaking to large groups of individuals. Mm-hmm. So it really did set the platform of where I was going. And, I always knew that I wanted to go bigger. I always wanted to work at a larger company. I have goals, and I still have goals that I'm, want to accomplish. I've got my 5-year goals, my 10-year goals, but, I knew when I was doing that, I knew it was going to work out in the end, so that what I was learning, what I was experiencing would come back to benefit me in the future. And it really did. And like I said, it wasn't comfortable, but it really did work out. And, even with SHRM, my leadership in SHRM for the state of Maryland, I'm speaking at a local chapter, Howard County chapter, this Thursday, actually, for one of their meetings for an hour on communication. So all on communication and how to have effective communication in the workplace. So, if you just think about that, I before could barely speak 5 minutes, because they got the little timer on those legislators. They got the timer. So you speak for 5 minutes and you're done. Now I have to speak for an hour. If I had started out with an hour, it would have been like, oh my gosh. So you just find what you have a passion for. And I had a passion for, the legislative stuff. I just love it to death.
That's really interesting. You just made me think of something that I haven't thought about for myself in quite a while, which is that I remember a moment when I was about to graduate college. I'm driving in LA. I went to school in LA. And, I'm surrounded by all this wealth and all this, and I'm this poor little kid in a really used car. And I'm like, someday I want to be a consultant. I'm like, I barely know what that is. And I don't want to work in an office all the time. I had this whole vision in my mind. And I had no idea how to get there. And about 2-3 weeks ago, I was in Denver working. And I realized I did it. I have that job.
It's your aha moment.
Exactly. It was a total aha moment. And I said, how did I get here? And of course I could tell the story, which I won't because it's really boring. But, it was like, I think you have a dream job. You have a dream, right?
Yes.
And you have to live into it, like you said, a step at a time. And each step you're gaining a skill that's going to become really important to you later. And you can't always see how you're going to get there, but you don't have to. If you have faith that, you have a dream and you're taking steps that matter to you and that are interesting to you, and you follow your joy each step of the way, eventually you tend to get to a dream job, whether or not it was the one you originally thought of. And in my case it was, which is where the dot got connected,
Yes. And, the funny thing is that I didn't know what my dream job was. I knew what I wanted to be doing. I knew I wanted to work from home. I knew I wanted to travel. I just didn't want to be stuck in an office.
Right.
So there were things that I knew I wanted, but I didn't know what that looked like in a job, especially with HR payroll background. When the HR payroll, you're usually in an office.
That's the definition of stuck in an office.
I know. I'm like, how do I get out of an office? It's driving me nuts. So that's when this came about. I was like, I didn't know anything like this existed. This is fantastic. And then, you start researching it and you start talking to people and you're like, this is exactly what I want to do.
Well, and you just said something really important, which is you didn't know you didn't know what it looked like. You didn't really know where it was. You didn't know Kronos existed, right? But you kept talking to people and learning, and that's how you find out what it looks like, right? Yes. And then when you find out what it looks like, you can say to other people, that's what I want. And then when you can say that's what I want, then other people can go, hey, maybe I could help you.
That's right. That is exactly right. It's just, it has been a journey. And you know what? I really wish the same journey on anyone, just because it has been it's been a hard journey, starting out with a new company, not really understanding computers, software, it's like drinking from a fire hose. If you can just imagine that. It's drinking from the fire hose, and we kind of laugh about that internally. But it's so much information, but yet it's so exciting to be learning all of this stuff and knowing that when it comes down to it, we really can make a difference in organizations where they really need help and they just don't know where to go.
Right.
So I like this job just for simple fact of, I'm not stuck in an office, and I'm not stuck in the same office.
Right.
So not only do I get to experience, the organizations that I've worked at, I get to experience the pains and the issues of hundreds of other companies and understand really on a national level what really impacts businesses. I personally never worked with unions. I've read CBAs, but I've never personally went to a union meeting or anything like that. And now I'm dealing with people who do that on a routine basis, have 33, CBAs to them. And now, I read a CBA and I'm like, oh, yep, that's standard. So I'm learning from even my clients.
Right.
So it's a continuous learning experience.
Well, I suspect that attitude is what gotten you here, and it's what will continue to fuel your success, is that curiosity and learning and believing that there's something else out there.
Yes. I'm one of those people that ask my husband, I'm never satisfied. I'm never satisfied with just status quo. I'm always one of those people, I've just got to keep moving, because if you stand still, you're missing something.
Yes, that is true. And I think, I believe, after coaching for so many years, I believe that everybody has that in them. And some people are just believing the stories that they're not like that, or that that's not an acceptable way to behave or whatever. And as soon as they kind of stop paying attention to those stories and start paying attention to what's inside them, the curiosity that's inside them, the thing that they like to do, they find their way. And it may not look to you and I like it's always interesting, but to them it's fascinating. And at the end of the day, that's the goal, right?
And you know what? In any realm, there's going to be naysayers. Even today, I have certain associates that will go, why do you do this? Why are you on the road all the time? And, they don't have, I guess, either the passion or they don't understand. And I just let that, I'm like, because I love it. And usually that will put my naysayers down, because they don't, they're not trying to be harsh.
Right.
They're just like, I just don't understand why you do it. But it really is, you've got to have that passion, and it does have to come from within. Somebody cannot give you anything and you appreciate it. You have got to work for it, and you have got to take and bring it from inside out in order to accomplish it.
Well, that's a wonderful note to end on our InPower Coaching, since that's pretty much everything that we believe right there.
Yeah.
And thank you for that nice summary statement of it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate your time and sharing your journey and your ahas with us. And we look forward to your blog posts going up live. We'll link that, and we'll make sure we get it out on social media. And it's really been a pleasure to have you as our guest here today. I want to remind all of our viewers and listeners that we do this live every Tuesday from 1 to 1:30 p.m. And you can find out how to join us and what's coming up at coffeebreak.InPowerCoaching.com. And we hope to see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.